Hello, everybody, and welcome. And thank you for tuning in to a very special edition here of the K2 podcast. I'm very happy to share with you all tonight's guest. This guy, I've had a chance to watch a lot of his videos and kind of look into the background. He's very charismatic, passionate, and really has just a winner's mentality. He spends a lot of time helping others achieve their goals and desires through motivational speaking. Was also a former NFL offensive lineman for teams like the LA Rams, Houston Oilers, and the Indianapolis Colts. And today he's here to discuss winning with us, not only in business but also in life, all the way from the locker room to the corporate boardroom. We welcome Shawn Harper to the show. So thanks for coming on, Shawn. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Hey, thank you. Let's have fun today. Let's win, and hopefully maybe one or two things that I can share will be a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to it. So when I first discovered you, I was truly fascinated by your story. One, because like many people, you've come from sometimes a life that was difficult. You had a lot of obstacles to overcome, which I think a lot of people can resonate with. But you were able to overcome those obstacles, and you went on to play in the NFL. You know, wrote your own book, and now you're doing motivational speaking. How did you get to this point? Can you give us a little insight and background about your upbringing and everything leading up to the NFL?
Yeah. So leading up to the NFL, just I was plagued. I was plagued with adversity. The thing about adversity, though, is that adversity can break you, but it also can make you a record breaker.
Sure.
The difference is your perspective, and I was just faced with tons of adversity growing up. Having to obviously, if you read anything about me, to repeat the first grade, of documented with 4 to 5 learning disabilities by the time I was in the 5th grade, kicked out of a couple schools because of disciplinary issues, raised in an extreme impoverished environment, single parent setting, one of 6 kids. My mom literally scrubbed floors just to feed us in the more affluent neighborhoods. And I was a subpar athlete. I barely started in high school football. I wasn't even an honorable mention all conference. That was just so lightweight tragic. Is that I struggled so much just to compete on the football field. I remember sitting in the back of football banquets, and there were guys get their awards like all city, all state, all intergalactic universe award, and here I am in the back, just eating eating that nasty cordon bleu. But underneath all of that, I had this dream, right? And let me just park there for a second, because outside of God and his love, there is nothing more powerful than the dream. The dream is greater than all laws of the universe.
Sure.
The dream is greater. The dream is greater than logic, greater than rationale. It is greater than any dimension. The dream is so powerful because you can be in one position or you can be in one location and you can dream yourself to any part of the world, any time in history. You can dream it, you can imagine it. It escapes the laws, right?
Sure.
And this dream of playing professional football was so deeply embedded at one point. And but there was nothing around me that validated the dream that was in me. And that's the case with a lot of people. You know, you have these great dreams and there's nothing outside that signals the greatness and the potential that's on the inside. And unfortunately, most people abort their calling, their purpose, and their destiny because there's no external confirmation of the internal words or affirmation that has been decreed over their life. And on the whim, I get a phone call on the last day of school, and it's a junior college, a 2-year school in Mason City, Iowa. Now check it out. I'm going to the cornfields of Mason City, Iowa. It's like 26,000 blonde hair, blue eyes. Everyone's last name is Schneider. Okay. It's like, I am like, this is crazy. But it was in that moment, in that season of my life, that the dream began to germinate. Sometimes you have to change the seed. Sometimes you have to change the soil, right? And so I'm in a different soil. I'm in Mason City, Iowa. And, you know, the first year at that junior college, I don't step on the field not one time, not one play. And I picked up the phone and I called my mom. And I was like, Mom, I quit. Mom, I give up. I'm done. And my mom began to encourage me in so many words, push me, antagonize me to stay for another year. And into the second year, before the season, there was 3 or 4 guys in the room, and I jumped up. It's called a Freudian slip. I guess I jumped up. I said, "Man, I've always wanted to play Division I and NFL football."
Sure.
And one of the guys stood up and he looked at me. He said, "Shawn, you'll never make it. Shawn, you're not strong enough. Shawn, you're not fast enough. Shawn, you're not quick enough." You know, never allow people to create your world because they will always create it too small. If you want to know who's really on your team, ask or throw out a big goal or a big vision and watch the people around you. Watch their eyes, watch their body language. If they begin to speak against it, if they begin to, you know, be kind of sarcastic, they can't go. Everyone can't go. And this is a hard lesson. This is what separates, you know, good from great. This is what separates average from just people who are just world changers. They know when to let go. In business, they know when to let go of certain people. They know when to let go of opportunities that's not for them. They know when to cut their losses. I used to stock trade. I used to day trade a lot, right?
Okay.
And you know, the hardest thing for me to do is when you see a stock, right, and it's like, you know, it's just treading, you know, you probably made about 5% on the stock and it starts to dip. You're like, no. You know, the harder thing to do is to be able to cut your loss.
Certainly.
And to move on to another stock. Yeah. Right.
That kind of reminds me of the casino. You know how some people hit a little bit of money and then they keep playing and lose it all? You should have stopped while you're ahead.
Stop while you're ahead. And so, and so my mom encouraged me, go back. And I remember I went outside and I yelled, "All I have is a dream."
Yep.
And I pulled out a sheet of paper and I wrote down 3 letters, NFL. And every day I woke up, I said, NFL, that's where I'm going. Every night before I went to sleep, I took one last look. I said, NFL, that's where I'm going. So you might not have nothing around you that validates the dream that's in you. But when you write the vision down and make it plain, you move out of creation and you move into something much more powerful. And that's manifestation.
Right. No, I think that is awesome. And, you know, I've heard, you know, that a lot before in the past about, you know, writing down your goals. You know, when you wake up, take 5-10 minutes every day, read that out loud and kind of, like you said, manifest your dreams and your desires. And that's something that I certainly need to work on. And one thing that I wanted to, you know, I guess put a little more time and effort into doing. But one thing that I really wanted to kind of hit on is, like you said, letting go, I think, is very difficult. I noticed on your YouTube channel, there's this one video you had, and I forget exactly what the title is, but it's something along the lines of stop listening to your closest friends or the people that's in your circle. And it's basically, and I enjoyed this video, but it was like, why should you stop listening to some of your closest friends? And one of the things you said in the video video really rang true, and I'll quote you on it. It said, "We keep a lot of people in our circle that only see where you're at and don't see where you're going, or even worse, where you have already been." So in that video, you go on to, you go on to kind of say, when you try to trace your dreams or aspire to do new things, they try to keep you there or even pull you back. And you use this really great analogy of molded or like an Angus cut beef. There's a certain steak that you like, and when it's aged and it's sitting there and it kind of gets molded and it kind of just sits there and looks all rough and somewhat disgusting, but as you take that knife and peel back those layers, you got something really great underneath. So I thought that video was very powerful. It was a great message, and I really enjoyed it. So what can you say about that? Because you've hit on it a little bit, but what kind of advice can you give? Because at some point you just don't want to say, how would you deliver that message to these people that maybe we're not on the same page anymore? I don't know if I can keep you in my circle. How do you have that conversation?
You know what? I don't think you really have to have that conversation.
Okay.
In so many words. You invite other people into the conversation. You invite people that where you're going into your world. Mm-hmm. And then you don't cut them out 100%. You just get them away from your energy. Mm-hmm. Or you keep their energy away from you.
Sure.
So you're having a casual conversation and you're having fun, but you know what? Hey man, let's do this. No man, I don't do that no more. Wait, hey, I'm gonna come over and we're gonna drink it. You know what? I don't do that no more.
Right.
They'll get the message. But even if they don't get the message, something else hopefully will happen is that the respect for you as an individual is so strong, they'll say, you know what? We're not on the same level, but I respect you as a man or a woman and as a friend. Mm-hmm. We will meet on certain grounds. Sure. Like there are people that I no longer associate with day to day, but whenever I'm at an event or, I go on maybe the South Side or whatever, and I see them, well, then we stop and we talk. We actually engage. I just don't engage on that territory no more. I don't engage in what they engage with, but the respect that we have for each other is like, you know what? I knew you win. I know that you are true. Right. I know that you are our true ride or die. Mm-hmm. So let's talk. How are things going? How's this? How's that? Okay, that's awesome. Great. Well, you know what? Goodbye.
Right. It's very true. Very true. And so, dealing with some of that stuff in your life, being told you're not going to make it, and, hearing some of those negative comments, you finally make it to the NFL as an offensive lineman. And I've actually heard you say this as well. Oftentimes linemen are almost invisible on the field, even though you're not invisible, but you're kind of somewhat invisible because, people don't, there's not all that glitz and glam, the interviews after the game and all this stuff that, the linemen almost kind of go under the radar a little bit. But can you kind of tell everybody about your experience in the NFL? What motivated you to become a lineman, for one, and I'm interested in hearing what inspires someone to say, hey, I want to use my body as a human shield and collide into another guy, head on, play after play. Where does that mindset come from? What inspired you to become a lineman?
Well, to be really honest, it was chosen for me. I'm a big guy.
Sure.
You know what? I don't care. I know you want to be a receiver, but being 285, 290, when you're slow, it's not in the cards. But you can play. Here's what you're going to play. You're going to play on the line. And, over time, you understand that nothing happens without you. Mm-hmm. Nothing. There's no win on a football field without. I don't care how talented the running back is. There is not a win, because if he can't get through the hole, it doesn't matter. Right. I don't care how great the receiver is. If you can't get the ball, it's not going to happen. How great the quarterback is, how great the coach is.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. We run it. And guess what? In the football ranks, on the football field, everyone knows that. And everyone respects that. The teammates honor that. And basically, that's all we need. but it's coupled by the fact that we know that we carry the entire team on our shoulders. And you know what? That's all we need.
Yep.
When I walk past and everyone's getting awards and, I mean, like autographs, and everyone's asking if a running back did a great job, sometimes I'll just turn back and I'll look in the eyes of the running back or the quarterback, and, he just gives a wink like, good job. That's all I need. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know what? We made all that happen today. We were hiding in plain sight. We're on the field at the same time. You don't even see us, and we made it all happen. But you know what? Sometimes real bad boys move in silence. So yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
And so, another thing that I've heard you use this term before, I thought was very great. Like I said, and for anybody that wants to check out Shawn's YouTube channel, I have it linked in the description below. But really, some really great analogies you have on there, some really powerful stuff. I was watching video after video, just hitting home on some of this stuff. I was like, this is really, that was great. But one analogy that you used that I thought was really clever was this term halftime. And you said, it's one of the best references I've heard, but you referred to a time of like reflection and thinking back and kind of developing where you're going as a halftime. So can you tell a little bit about what you mean by that, and what does it mean outside of the sports world to you?
Yeah, so being able to understand time, the importance of time, the seasons of time is so important. Life is a series of cycles. Life is a series of seasons. And if you don't understand that, if you don't recognize what season that you're in, if you don't recognize the time that you're in, it's very likely you can be caught out of season. And so within the seasons, before there's another season, there's usually a break. And in that break, there is a period in which you sit down mentally and you adjust. You make decisions, you make rearrangements, you make calculations. Like in football, there's first and second quarter, and then there's a halftime moment. And in that halftime moment, it's like, you know what? This is what you did wrong. These are the changes that you have to make so that when you go out there third and fourth quarter, you're going to go out there as a victim, not as you're going to go out there as a victor, not as a victim. I believe that COVID-19 is a halftime for America.
That's a great point.
And now in this moment, it's time for you to reassess. It's time for you to retool. It's time for you to recalculate, because you got to go back out there. Yeah. So there's a timeout, there's overtime, there's off season, and then there's halftime. And so the halftime is when you make adjustments while you're in play, and you have to make, perfect example, my speaking calendar was filled. I was booked.
Sure.
Okay. And all of a sudden COVID-19 hits, they're all gone.
Yep.
You now have to retool. I have to recalculate. I have to, so now, I got a green screen. I have this.
It looks great. The background back there looks awesome.
Either you make adjustments in the paradigm or you're a dinosaur.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's very true. And, I don't know. I really enjoyed that analogy. And then you talk about how COVID-19 is a time to reflect. I think that's great as well. I think everybody has to kind of readjust, get your mind in a good place to, like you said, go back out there, because, at some point we're going to have to get back out there. You're going to have to, some people may be rusty at something that they've been doing. For me, there's a bunch of things, like I'd like to be a little bit more buff. I want to get into the gym. That's one of my goals and aspirations. I've kind of been putting it off, and COVID-19 was like the perfect excuse to do that, so it kind of made it worse. But, once this kind of settles down and everything, our gyms are somewhat getting back opened up. But, I'm going to have to get in there and buckle up and, just do the work, just go ahead and grind. So this is a perfect time to reflect, talk to people like yourself, find that motivation, build those connections that I want to build, and kind of get back out there. And, hopefully it'll all work out. Now, I've heard you talk, one thing that I definitely connect with you on, that I feel like a lot of America is kind of getting away from, is, God and church and that type of thing. What kind of role does God and church play in your life? And do you see America as kind of going away from that, or what's your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, it's thank you first of all for asking that question, because that is that's the anchor of my entire life. God is the CEO. It's the CEO of my.
I like that. I like that.
I consult with the CEO all the
I like
time.
that.
He calls audibles all the time.
Certainly.
He'll lead me in another way. It's just and had it not been for the grace of God, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I wouldn't be here right now. God's grace saved me. And one of my darkest moments of my life, he intervened and he literally saved my life. And so I'm his. As far as America getting away from God, yeah. And that's, if you look in the Bible, that's one of the patterns when, when a group of people go through a period of extreme prosperity, that money becomes God. And in the word it says you can't serve God and mammon. You can't serve God and money. And so God, he's going to get your attention one way or another. And I'm glad he got my attention years ago. It's the best thing that ever happened.
Certainly. Well, I hope I would love to see more people get involved with that. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk with you about it a little bit, because I think it first starts with just conversation, and I don't want to, I know sometimes a lot of the main argument that I hear about, God and Christ and everyone's life is, they feel it's often pushed upon them. So I'm looking to have conversations and not push anything, but, talk to people and maybe have them see a different perspective. And one thing that you were quoted during a CBN interview, and you said the quest for you in life is to hook up with your God-given assignment and live it to its fullest, and there you'll find success and happiness. So what does that mean to you? And do you think it's possible to find happiness outside of God, or do you think that's, like you say, that's your CEO? Or maybe maybe there's a person out there that says, I'm not in for that whole religious thing. Are they doomed, or do you feel that there's some chance of happiness there for them?
So it all depends on what you mean by happiness.
Sure.
And so what I term happiness is 100% fulfillment. To be not just filled but fulfilled is a difference. The thing about the world is that the world will pacify you, and it will give you the illusion of being filled, but it will often leave you thirsting and wanting more.
Sure.
God's water is like, it's just, it's a totally different water source, and that you're not only filled, you are fulfilled. And hooking up with the CEO of the universe, right?
Sure.
It allows you to win the game of life, because the world would teach you production. God would teach you reproduction, to reproduce the talents and the gifts that he is giving you into other people. And that to me brings fulfillment. And that to me brings happiness.
That's a great response.
I don't believe that it could happen totally. And there's quite evident in the quest of man, always wanting bigger things, wanting better things, always spending thousands and, just being led, that lust driven for more and for more and for more. If there wasn't a thirst there, then guess what? Then you wouldn't want it.
Sure. No, I agree. And, I kind of left the success portion out of that question. And I did that because I believe some level of success could be reached just by sheer luck or, random chance. But I wanted to ask the happiness portion because I believe it is something that doesn't just happen. Happiness isn't just by luck. It must be kind of discovered. It's something that you have to seek within and kind of find out and ask yourself those questions. What makes me happy? What makes me tick? So what kind of advice could you give to somebody trying to discover that happiness, and what would you say to that?
I honestly would tell that individual, if you're asking me, is to stop what you're doing, stop everything, and yield and submit your life. I would tell them that because I've been there. I done played, in the league, the money, that lifestyle, I had it. Okay. And I'm a business owner, so I have it. And I'm telling you right now, it tastes good. Like, this right here, like it might taste good going down, but it's going to leave a bad aftertaste in your
Sure.
soul. And it's going to leave you wanting more and
Mm-hmm.
more and more. And the wanting of more always leads to death of something, death of a relationship, death of your body, death of your finances.
Sure.
The only kind of water that leads to life is up there.
I certainly agree with you. I'm very pleased to hear that. Now,
Well,
another thing I wanted to talk about is the book that you currently have on Amazon titled "The Winning Edge: 8 Principles That Will Bring Out the Winner in You." What inspired this book, and can you tell us a little bit more about it?
yeah, it's all centered around the fact that we weren't created to be successful.
Okay.
We are we are created to win.
Right.
Okay, winning is in the essence of our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when we, go to a football game and your favorite football team is losing, you can't watch the game because
Just turn the TV off.
because why? Because it's incompatible with your DNA.
Right.
I'm a winner,
Right.
and people spend billions in gambling. Why? Because it's winning.
Right.
They'll play video games for 2 days straight, winning.
Yep.
So I was able, and I was blessed to be able to pull winning strategies, not success strategies, but winning strategies. Mm-hmm. And I was able to incorporate that in football and in life and produce other wins mm-hmm. and higher wins, things that aren't taught every day, things that's overshadowed because you don't need them to be successful, but you need them to win.
Sure. No, that I like that a lot, and I've heard you use the reference, when you say that we were born to win, or born with that right. desire to win. You said even as early as being a sperm, getting to that yes. egg, that you're the winner, right from the jump, So I don't know. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on things. But one thing in your book, I think it's chapter 8, is something that you call the 212 effect. What is that 212 effect? What is that exactly? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So water is water at 211 degrees.
Okay.
At 212 degrees, water boils 1 degree more. And boiling water has literally changed the world. So when you look at a lot of victories, mm-hmm. they're won by maybe 1/10 of a second, 100th of a second. Small things that you can do that will give you the edge mm-hmm. against your competition. Small things that you can do that will give you the edge on sports. Small things you can do that will give you the edge in business. Mm-hmm. And so we're working hard, and they're prescribing this is how hard you're supposed to work. Mm-hmm. But when you want to get into the 212, it's like, what extra can I do? What little bit of extra every single day?
Right.
I had a great coach named Elliot Uselak, and what he said was, Shawn, he said, I need you to get this much better every day. Get this much better every day, and in over a year it turns into this much.
Right.
All you need.
Yeah.
So what is your 212? What are you willing to go above and beyond more than the average person or the next person?
No, I think that's great. I like that. I like that a lot. And not to jump too far and give too much away, but I'm hoping that maybe you can give our listeners here a little bit of an exclusive, because this will be like a K2 podcast exclusive here. But I know that you have another book that's coming soon called The Winner's Guide to Goal Setting. What can we expect in this book? And are you able to kind of give us a little bit of a sneak peek or some kind of exclusive for the listeners on what to expect with this book?
You are absolutely amazing. You have done your research. Like one post of that out there. So, I would be glad to. So it just absolutely amazes me how people never achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. When most people never achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. New Year's resolutions, 80% of them are gone by within 15 to 21 days. Mm-hmm. And then next year you want to do it again. Right. And so I really took a step back and I said, okay, why is that? So I'm at a football game, and I'm watching this college team play, and then I'm hearing the people in the stands, this couple in the stands, and they're talking about these athletes like, man, these guys are machines, and they're this and they're that, and I'm up, and I'm almost laughing to myself like, yeah, okay, superhuman strength, they're like,
Yeah.
wow. They're like, man, their focus must be amazing. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Each player has a system, and that system of the people that surround them have have a vested interest, and each and every one of them
Mm-hmm.
focuses on one particular thing to take them to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to build systems for you to achieve your goals. They teach goals as an individual thing, but you always need a team to achieve your goals of some sort. In most situations, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that's important, and that's part of the reason I do this podcast. And like I said earlier, I want to build connections. I want to gain insights. I want to hear other people's thoughts and opinions, and that allows me to see a broader spectrum of things, open my mind up, and kind of unlock some things that maybe I wasn't tapping into before. So, that's definitely a book I'm looking forward to seeing when it comes out. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I do have a question there. I noticed on your website there is a free ebook for the first book there that you have, The Winning Edge. It's on the ShawnHarper.org. I've linked that in the description if that's okay with you, for everybody to go check that out. And
yeah, so you know what? I'll do you one better.
Okay.
If you go to ShawnHarper.co, ShawnHarper.co,
okay.
Put your information in there, just your email, you'll get a free download right there.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I have your website in the description. I also have your Instagram page and your Facebook.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
also have the Amazon link there for anybody interested in going to purchase a copy and to be on the lookout for your new one. And I also linked your YouTube channel. Is there anything else that you wanted to convey to anybody before we wrap things up and kind of get you on your way?
Yeah. I don't want this to be about me, okay? I want this to be about your audience. We are facing some challenging times.
Certainly.
There's a lot of adversity today, and there's a whole heck of a lot of adversity coming.
Mm-hmm.
You will get knocked down. You will be disappointed. You will be hurt. You will fall short. Mm-hmm. It happens. But when you get knocked down, man, if you can look up, baby, you can get up.
Certainly.
Okay, if you can look up, if you can open up your eyes and look up, you can get up. Mm-hmm. And the persistence through resistance is one of the major laws of winning. That you take the adversity, like guerrilla warfare, you take the power from the resistance, it becomes your power. Mm-hmm. The power from the resistance strengthens your muscles. Mm-hmm. The power or the actual resistance strengthens your being, your fortitude. That pushing through the birth canal of the next level strengthens you to exist and to stay at the next level. Mm-hmm. So you can't abort the process.
I like that. I like that a lot. And, it's kind of important. What I like about that, too, is like you said, even, leading up to your NFL days, you weren't always the most athletic or the most gifted, but it was that sheer just pounding every day at your craft, pounding every day at your craft to make it where you want to go. So hopefully everybody that's tuning in right now will be able to take that away from this and kind of get some inspiration and some insight to start pounding on your craft. Because there's always that, like you said, we go back to that 212. There's always just right now, even if you can't do what it is that you want to do, whether it's a public speaking engagement, no matter whatever it is that you're getting into, you could take this time or halftime and sit back for a second and kind of start to evaluate, what can I do to separate myself from the pack? When I do get back out there, I'm ahead of the game. You can take advantage of this opportunity. So hopefully we've given everybody a little bit of snippet into that and gave them some motivation. I know I'm certainly feeling pumped up just by speaking with you, and I'm feeling motivated myself. So I appreciate you for that. Is anything else before we get you going? I don't want to take up too much more time of your this evening, but you've been a real treat and really gave me some insights. I'm kind of all jacked up here this evening, ready to go crank out like some push-ups and just start getting going.
Yeah, it's never stop learning.
Good
You
point.
know, my favorite friend now is YouTube. Man, I'm on YouTube and I'm just, listening to, right now I'm learning about blockchain. I'm learning about Bitcoin and
Ooh,
Bitcoin
that's
Cash.
interesting.
Heck yeah, that the whole concept is interesting.
Right.
And I'm just listening to, you know, just great minds talk about the economy and
Mm-hmm.
just it's so
No, it is. It
fascinating.
is very interesting, and it's kind of. I don't know if you guys are having this issue, but we're kind of going through this whole coin shortage thing, and it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting to see how maybe Bitcoin and some of these other things may come into effect here as we kind of see this. I'm not sure what's happening, but as we kind of see this unfold, I'm kind of curious to see what will happen here over time with that type of stuff.
yeah,
But YouTube is a great source, and I think one thing about YouTube, I may not always agree with YouTube's political stances or this or that. But one thing that I will have to, I like to give credit where credit's due, is they've opened up this whole new idea of media and information that you weren't always able to access before. Like, sure, you have books, but when you look at the like mainstream media and stuff like that, you have like something. And this is kind of a brutal word, but it's force fed to you, and this is what you have to accept. But with YouTube, you can go out there, absorb new information, generate your own ideas, hear different viewpoints, not just something like a Fox News that tells you this, and you have to roll with that. You can kind of see other people's thoughts and views and hear that stuff. So that's one of the reasons I like YouTube. I mean, if I have a problem in my house, I can become a plumber overnight. You know what I'm saying? And look, so it's always stuff like that I find great. So I think you bring up a lot of great stuff there. I also talk about a lot of investing and stuff on the podcast as well. I typically, when I don't have a guest on, I'll do a small segment about stocks and favorite picks. Is there any one that you're looking at closely right now that you kind of like coming up?
what do you mean, like stocks
Yeah, just a
or?
stock or some kind of investment that you see real strong potential in.
Yeah, well, you know what? I gotta change hats now.
Oh, snap.
So I tell you what, I like stocks that will benefit in what's happening now.
Okay.
So of course, I love your PayPal's.
Uh huh.
I love Square. I love Shopify. I mean, Shopify is like, yeah. Alibaba, of course, Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love stocks that are in that will actually capitalize in the post-COVID um, theater.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, and I don't. I mean, the way that Amazon is set up, it's like they can do no wrong, no matter what's going. Like Amazon, I don't like. You just saw. I mean, no matter what happens in the world, a global pandemic, it just seems like they just push through all of that stuff. They're just an unstoppable force. So I definitely have them in my portfolio as well. I'd like to see what transpires over that. But that's all I have for you this evening, Shawn. I certainly appreciate you being here. I have everything linked in the description below. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, sir, and you taking the time out to speak with me. This type of stuff is what I think will change the world as people are dealing with when you're fed, like we were talking about, force feeding the mainstream media and all this stuff. These conversations, I think, is where people can come to find those middle grounds in their life and hear different ideas and perspectives. And I'm truly thankful for having you on. So I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Anytime, reach out and you know what? We'll win. It's no problem.
Understood. Well, I appreciate that, Shawn. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening, sir. You take care, and I'll certainly be in touch with you, okay?
All right. You have a good
You
one.
too. So there you have it, everybody. That was Shawn Harper. What a delight he was to have on the show. Moving on here. First off, I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation. I mean, what a nice guy he was. I went a lot better than I anticipated because, sometimes you have a guest on or somebody and they don't really come through as when you first talk to them, and that guy was just, you can tell his passion and desire to want to help other people. It seems like that really shines through with Shawn, so I'm certainly thankful for that. But another thing that I want to shed some light on is next week's guest. But before I get into who's next week's guest is, please, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. It certainly helps me out. If you can click that notification bell, you'll get a notification every time a new episode is out or that the show is live. If you're watching on Facebook, go to my K2 podcast page and like the page. We also stream over there, and it certainly helps support the show when you do that type of stuff. But moving on to next week's guest. Now, next week's guest is a guy who is got a truly fascinating and interesting story. This guy is perhaps the only person who was once arrested by the FBI and then later went on to receive an award, a community service award from the director of the FBI. His name is Ed Creasy. So like I said, Ed has gone from being arrested by the FBI to volunteering for the FBI and the police department in his hometown of San Francisco. He's helping his communities affected by incarceration and addiction. So that'll be next week's episode, next Monday. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. I certainly look forward to seeing you guys. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you like this episode. But I look forward to seeing you guys next week. That's all for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.